Hello, everybody, and welcome back inside the DTECH Interview Studio, presented by OATI out at DTECH 2026 in San Diego, California. We're winding down this year's event, a cornucopia of everything the energy industry has to offer. And a part of that cornucopia is my friend Matt Green with TRC Companies, or should I say Dr. Matt Green. I know you don't always carry the moniker around like a crown, but it does mean something. You are an expert in your field. For those unfamiliar with what that field is, start us off with an explainer on what TRC does.
Sure. Thanks, Paul. Great to spend time with you. So TRC is an 8,000 plus person firm of engineers and consulting professionals that are focused on really solving some of the world's most complicated challenges in our energy and power sector, environmental and infrastructure sector, and our digital services and solutions sector.
What has the experience been like, your conversation, sharing that expertise with your customers here at DTECH?
Yeah, I've been in the utility sector for over 20 years and been coming on and off to DTECH for that whole time. And in general, what's been really interesting about this event this year in particular is, first of all, noticing an enormous amount of software-centric solutions on the floor. And then as I spend time with customers, I think this is a very unique year, an inflection point year really, in utilities and energy clients really seeking solutions to some serious problems they're dealing with in areas like capacity growth, for instance, where we're just hitting such real struggles, real challenges on the electric grid that we're looking to solve.
How do we solve those? I feel like all those software solutions, everyone has their little niche and everyone wants to make inroads with those big utility clients. But how do we actually make a difference?
Yeah, it is a sea of challenges.
Yeah.
And actually, the business I run for TRC, our integrated planning and advisory services business, is really targeted at helping to work with utilities to try to look at the myriad of potential solutions out there, line up to the specific challenges they're dealing with in things like infrastructure growth and capital efficiency, dealing with serious challenges around capacity, but at the same time, a world we're living in where reliability and resiliency is no longer a compliance exercise, but we're dealing with very serious wildfire and climate related threats to our grid and infrastructure. So I'd say one of the areas that I've been spending a lot of time talking to clients about are trying to find practical solutions that really solve not just one problem, but many problems. And I think that's probably maybe to me the theme of the conference that I've been seeing today is that one tool should be used to solve more than one problem. And we're dealing with technology vendors that are trying to help meet customers' needs in that area of doing not just one thing like, say, reliability, but also offer reliability and capacity-based solutions in one single platform.
That sounds easy, that silver bullet solution, just when you put it like that. But of course, it's not quite that simple. Do you have any good use cases that immediately come to mind in which you've been able to help those clients with those, personalized solutions?
Yeah, I'll give you a specific example of one. So there are every utility right now is looking at resilience-based risks, and a subset of those utilities have dealt with real challenges with wildfire risks. And as a result of that, those utilities are forced to spend a little bit more time and look at the assets they have on their system. So that would be things like field inspections. And, for me, one area where we spend a lot of time advising clients as they're investing money in wildfire inspection and mitigation solutions is looking at using those sometimes technology-enabled solutions that are enhancing field inspections for wildfire to use that to try to make practical decisions on asset investment and decision-making along the way. An example I like to give is as we are working with clients on cost optimization, if I ran out of milk in my fridge and I looked at the business case of going to the supermarket to go buy milk, that's going to be business case X. But if I look at how much it costs incrementally and time, money and effort to go get milk if I'm already at the supermarket, that's a much better business case. And so we're working with clients who are basically taking compliance-oriented actions around something like wildfire and figuring out how to use that to improve reliability, resilience, or cost optimization as a whole.
I've got to imagine the machines are doing a lot of that. The AI overlords that everyone wants to talk about at DTECH. What do you make of that conversation? How does AI really fold into all utility operations?
Yeah, what's funny is, so I've been in the sector for over 20 years. Before I was in the utility sector, I was an applied machine learning researcher for the Department of Defense. It's really interesting 20 years later, seeing the role that AI is now having on this sector. It is somewhat of the blockchain of the era, and the fact that I haven't spoken to a software vendor that's not talking about using it. My take on AI. So first of all, I'm really optimistic about the role AI is going to have in solving problems. One of the use cases that I'm really excited about is the fact that we've historically been pretty bad at predicting reliability and weather-based performance. So we're seeing like a whole bunch of AI-centric vendors like Rhizome, for instance, that are looking at improvements in climate modeling, which I'm really, really excited about. The other area I'm spending a lot of time working with clients on are how to improve the scale and magnitude of the type of planning scenarios that are really necessary to build those single case, best case solutions. So an example of leveraging AI to improve the calculation times to run a planning simulation model, or increase the magnitude of models on multiple scenarios so that you can build investment strategies that make sense across a wide variety of options.
We've heard some pretty head-scratching examples here just at DTECH about ways that utilities have leveraged AI exactly like that in planning situations to really bring down their time. I mean, we're talking about 6 months of planning now down to a matter of minutes or hours. That's a whole lot of time and resources freed up for utilities. As we look ahead to DTECH 2027, how do you envision utilities using all that extra free time, all those extra resources to improve their systems?
I'll let you know when I find free time in the industry. I think one of the gaps we're dealing with is that the need for talent, the gap between how much talent the industry actually needs right now because of how much investment we're making, increased investment we're making, versus what we have is a serious deficit, as much as maybe 10% year over year employee gap. So, for me, it's really a little bit less about free time and more about the fact that AI is actually a necessary enabler to meet the needs of our workforce gaps we're experiencing today. Actually, at TRC, we're leveraging AI in significant ways already in how we perform engineering services on behalf of our clients, and that comes down to things like AI-enabled tooling to improve field verification and asset information before we're doing the actual engineering work, post-verification activities, automation, AI-enabled automations and bots for things like improving the workflows around design processes today. So to me, I don't think we're going to see a lot of free time in the industry for the next 5 or 10 years, but I do think it's going to open up some new capacity to solve these challenges.
Matt, before I let you go, I want to put you on the spot a little bit. We talk a lot about AI. We talk a lot about, you can go ahead and fill in the blank from here. But what are we not talking about? There's always something that a few people in this massive convention center have got on their minds at DTECH 26 that on 27, a lot more people are going to be asking about. From your seat at the table, what is that?
Well, I think we're talking about it. But to me, I think what we're seeing now, and this year has been the year of it, is this discussion around affordability. And I think with the kind of the undertone of that comment around affordability, and really what we're all feeling as consumers, is that things are fundamentally more expensive right now, is that the value of the grid has to be higher and more transparent to our customers at a time when we're really investing at rates at or above the rate of inflation, which is already in itself high. I think reoptimizing that value equation is going to be absolutely critical. And so I think that the role of utilities as integrators and helping to balance affordability, sustainability, and resiliency in this triangle, to leverage technologies that are emerging to solve those problems, is going to really be the theme of the next couple years. On a good note, if we look at this as a good note, the grid is still fundamentally a highly underutilized asset. Depending on how you look at it, 30-40% utilization rates across the United States. So to me, I look at that as upside. Being able to get more out of the assets we have at the same time that we're investing in new infrastructure to support all this growth we're seeing, I think is going to really help provide new solutions for our customers.
All right, Matt, we're about out of time here in the DTECH Interview Studio. Really appreciate you stopping by and sharing your expertise with us. Matt Green, TRC Companies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.